Which APs did I take? Okay, let's see. AP World, APUSH, AP Physics, AP Lang, AP. It was not AP. Oh yeah, I was supposed to do this blind, wasn't I? AP Lang, AP Push, AP Physics, AP Calc, AP Stats, AP Gov, AP Macro, AP Stats, AP Literature, English Literature, AP Psychology, and is that it? No, that wasn't it. What else was there? That may have been it. Yeah, it was only 5 in my final year. AP Psych is a pure memorization test. That's it. I got credits for all of them. That was 10 total APs. I did calculations. That wasn't actually. That's not actually the maximum I could have done. Oopsies. That's bad. So I could have a separate discussion about this, but that was not the maximum I could have done. I could have done way more. Okay, where were we? We were adjusting AP. We were adjusting the AP Word DBQ. Do you want me to adjust the AP Word DBQ? I'll only spend like 15 minutes on it anyways. Just because I don't want to take too long. Okay, we're doing AP Word. Okay, AP Word 2022. Evaluate the extent to which European imperialism affects economies. Okay, we start with industrialization. No, this is the easiest one. Okay, AP Ward. You want me to do maximum revolution? Even if it's easy, I should at least. There's at least a point in looking at it because we're just doing grouping and whatnot. We can do AP Euro later for like an actually hard prompt. It's hard in the sense that I have no basis of Euro. Okay, fine. Okay, I'll do that later. We're starting off with this one. Okay, so we evaluate the extent to which European imperialism, we have industrialization, we have a white man's burden. Okay. When you start off, we can just dump all the context. A white man's burden, we have industrialization, we have social Darwinism, we have slave trade. Okay, that's good enough. We're done there. Okay, document 1. I'm going to be silent because I need to think. That's too much for context. Yeah, whatever. That's just what I've done. Let me get you explicitly what I did for context in 2021. This one had like 3 to 4 processes or vocab. So that's just how I do it. Okay. How do I get access to my FRQs? My school buys them and the teachers throw them out. I'm not lying. The teachers usually don't use them at all. I also have my AP World 2020 DBQ, which I should not be sharing, but whatever. Okay, so we have a government-run sugar factory. This is really annoying to write because I. Oh wait, can I drop the? And I won't try. Okay. This one is document 1, labor. Okay, so here we have a government-run sugar factory. Is labor they can't, who's not subject to multiple demands as labor. Okay, the government is being oppressive on this. The government is demanding labor. Okay, we need to look at future labor. If any of these mention labor, we have a good chance. Okay, this one is exports increase. Exports are high here. They go down. Imports are high here. Okay, the British decrease. British presence correlates to cotton. Okay, that's good. This was written 1810, 1830. Indian journalist and intellectual. This might have a problem. Probably some Bengali language. Okay, hereditary traits. Refusal to abandon traditional labor. The only reason why I'm stalled is because I have to document things. If I was writing this in, yeah, I'm skimming. If I were writing this in the FAQ book, I would just be scribbling on the paper itself. So I should admit I looked at the scoring for this already, so I already have some basis for this. To exclude all the competitors. Okay. Trade. Okay. That's document 4, document 5. Congolese. You guys have seen me drop Joseph Conrad emojis, so I don't know what to say about that. The mines, first of course we know these. Yeah, King Leopold was a terrible person. 7. Okay, so what's our prompt again? Okay, so now we have document summaries. Now we can also source them really quickly. Okay, let me see if I can source these really quickly because you guys have seen me. That's valid. You could probably talk about that. Okay, so we have here. Okay, he's a manager of a government-run sugar factory, but we have here issues with Dutch cultivation system, so we have sourcing there. This is in the context of British imperialism, so actually that's just the argument itself. Okay, intellectual. Okay, so he's an intellectual, he's an journalist, so he's actually 1888. Do we have one? This is definitely one of the easier prompts. Yeah, it's probably one of the easy ones. So I did mention that you could do underlying historical like mechanics, so I guess this would be the case. This would be an example of underlying historical mechanics, I mean. So Belgium is a small country. That's also a thing. That section up there with social Darwinism is context. Brief overview of how to hack a context. So it's just periodization. You just need to know, okay, here, the DBQ gives you dates, so then you have to go, okay, what was happening around this era? And you just dump all of that. Just dump a bunch. Oh, these are both rebellions, aren't they? This may not be perspective, but I have to note it down. I got a hand to that guy. He was pretty efficient. I got to hand it to King Leopold. He was pretty efficient. That really bounced off you guys like rubber. I forgot to tell you guys that the other possibility was bad puns. Oh my god, I forgot to play music. Actually, no, that would have been a bad idea. It would have copyright. Okay. I could play survive music. Anyways. Where was I? Okay. Context. You can do context with this. It would probably work. Okay, we have a bunch of documents, by the way. There's an image of like a guy staring at his daughter's cut off hand, by the way. Okay, so now we can correlate which ones. So let me get this to look better. So on its standard formats, I would not be. Okay, so destruction of traditional be 7. That would be 3. That would be 2. That would be now. This would be forced labor. That would include 1. That would be 5. Okay, and the last one would be. Oh yeah, it's supposed to have outside evidence, huh? Oh yes, it was. Is the doc available to look over later? I guess I'll keep it, huh? Ovion was? Oh yeah, that would have been fine. We can have 2. Let's treat. Okay, I'm gonna get really needlessly dramatic because I'm typing this. Okay, this is obviously not at all what you need for contextualization, but I figured I can afford to be a bit dramatic. Oh well, there's only 13 people left. I am taking way too long. Oh no. Okay, I forgot to adjust the right man's button. Okay, I got my points. Okay, we have a thesis and we have a context. Can we read this later? Yes, I will be keeping this around. This is actually something I was planning to do a while ago. Less dramatic, but you know. Okay, so we start off with this first paragraph. We have grouped all these documents, and now we can address them. Document 3. Okay, document 3, 2, 6. Okay, so I choose document 3 to start off with. Or document 2, actually. Gotta start with document 2. I'll be keeping this in the DBQs and LQs document, which is kept around. I'll post the link later. So I'm not really talking at this point, but I'll leave my mic on in case I have to. So now that we have this first document, we can start talking about the argument. So what's my argument? Native populations, long-standing layer of traditions, common. Okay, what's my proof? Declining export rates. So if it's declining, this implies that there are fewer workers or fewer outputs. At least fewer output. Fewer calico Muslims being made. Whereas most Indians seem to be purchasing cotton cloth. I should warn you guys that since I'm typing this, I'm going very much more in detail than I need to be. If I were handwriting this would be different. I might handwrite the APU or DBQ if I ever do that. I would probably have to upload that separately. Okay, this is something that is done in the AP World 2021 DBQ, the Mexican Revolution DBQ. It had documents speak to each other. That is a very good thing to do. So I will have the documents speak to each other. Okay, so this is from 1810, 1830. Am I trying to go for complexity? Sorta. I'm just doing what I think is good thinking anyway. In 25 minutes, no. I write extremely detailed. Wait, actually, has it only been 25 minutes since I started? I should admit that part of it is just because I can type. So if I were handwriting, this would be a lot different. Okay, this is debatably some sort of complexity, I guess, where I'm like analyzing the perspective in vast detail and trying to address. Okay, here is where he is not able to make the argument. Here's where we can't use this argument. He is a journalist. He is an intellectual. He is not an artisan. So we do not know. We do not have the same perspective as say an artisan who would be able to say, okay, I really cannot give up this tradition. It's been in my family since for ages. How can you say that I can only focus on economics? That's the question. That's the limitation this argument poses. If we were writing this as a research paper, we would say, okay, now we have to look at an artisan's perspective, and then you would have to look beyond. However, as a DPQ, we can't do that. There is a digital exam offered by some schools. If your school doesn't offer it, you're screwed. Will this also get supporting evidence? Yeah, that was before this. This is the highlight part right here. This is supporting evidence. I am arguing. The British president sought to suppress Indian economy that they are incapable of recovering even years after, demonstrating the long-lasting legacy of British imperialism. I could relate this to opium, huh? Yeah, I could relate this to opium. Okay, I just realized this is technically out of. I have to check. What is Britain growing opium? Because I do know that the opium was. I have to check. Can I talk about opium in this case? I guess no one cares about opium in 1870. Anyways, what? Oh no, here it is. Okay, the thing with that outside evidence that's technically out of era, but oh wait, no, I can make this work. Yeah, I can make this work actually. What you suggested would work because I could just say, oh, it started in 1810, from 1830, opium was around 1830, so then that implies that some traders would have been given up the trade, which means that they would have been working in opium fields, which increased imperialism elsewhere and perpetuated this. Okay. Okay, this is a really long paragraph that would not be writable. But for purposes of an analysis, I guess it's fine. Like, do you guys want a realistic draft? Well, if we wanted a realistic draft, we kind of already failed by doing this and by not handwriting this, but you know. Okay, let's just be shorter and like. My argument was as follows: my argument was that its destruction of native traditions, native labor traditions. The British presence had so supremely suppressed Indian cotton that they are incapable of recovering in years after, demonstrating the long-lasting legacy of the British imperialism. So I'm saying that the British presence has destroyed the. I'm using this document that talks about there's no more. The cotton laborers are facing such extensive. Cotton weavers are facing extensive issues with British cotton that they are facing a lot of stress that they are starting that they might start giving up their tradition. So the destruction of labor, like I said, the destruction of native traditional labor is just the cotton weavers not finding work. Yeah, this. It's just okay. This document says a lot of these weavers don't have work. My argument: destruction of native labor traditions. My explanation of how they relate: native laborers no longer can find cotton work. They are out of work. Ergo, the labor traditions are being destroyed. That's all for the actual argumentation. This here is just the opium thing is outside evidence combined with arguable amounts of complexity. This is me corroborating as well. This part, especially right here. So what I'm supposing is that what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to prove to the reader I know that this is true for just India. However, I also know that this Indian imperialism has lasting impacts not only in India but beyond India. And that we can see in China's opium wars. Because China was a victim of opium. They grew the opium in India. Where those laborers come from? Cotton weavers, maybe? Something like that. Or any other traditional labor. So like the destruction of traditional labor, now they're being reduced down to these basic laborers that are growing these opium products, and those are being sold in China. That's weakening China's economy. That's destroying their traditions and economies as well. That's interplay. That's historical process and mechanics. That's showing that I can understand this is not an isolated document. This is not an isolated story. It's not an isolated process. It has lasting impacts worldwide throughout these regions. And that's complexity. Okay, document 6. That one I chose was this one. Okay, in Africa, a former Zimbabwean rebel. I mean, part of that was I also just like screwed around with the opium research anyway, but yeah. Okay, so I started like 6:17, so it's been like 30 minutes, and I'm only on paragraph 1. I should hurry up a bit. It's really persuaded to find forbidden. Okay, here. Okay, this is pretty self-explanatory. Zimbabweans did not do wage labor. The British came. They introduced wage labor. Boom. Traditional labor gone. Okay. Is there anything else I should note down here? Assume that their economic practices like wage labor would be better. I mean, then again, I guess Heimler's only video for this is like he just planned it out and he didn't actually write this. But the problem with this is that I can't really say that this is realistic because I'm typing this, and also, but at least you guys can get a basis for like thought processes. Okay, is there anything else I want to address here? Context. Okay. Okay, next one. We should hurry. Forced labor. Okay, topic sentence as always. So the first one I chose was 1 and 5. Let's look at 1 and 5. Okay, so document 1 is Jakarta. Okay, so we have a Dutch sugar factory already forced to work on sugar fields. Okay, so the really interesting thing with this document is that it's government run. This is a management also in the government, but we have a competing government system that is preventing him from being effective. So we see here that like the European bureaucracy is interfering with itself. I don't know if this is actually useful, but it's interesting. This is actually something that my sister wrote in annotations of how the documents, where inefficiency was actually something that she had to note down. Forced labor is an economic aspect. That's it. Labor is just a subset of economy. That's all it is. So the way I usually do grouping is I get the pieces and I see the pieces in those pieces. So for example, economic, you have resources, you have labor. Those are not those are the same category, but they may not be the same. You may have documents that can delineate along both. So in this case, I've chosen forced labor. So this is related to this is completely irrelevant, but this is something that like if you can split up a population, you can conquer them much easier. This happens with like Native Americans in the Americas. Okay, so what I'm identifying is that he is operating the factory in the name of his government. So now I have to prove what's the point of this perspective. So in this case, we have to show that forced labor was not necessarily coordinated. Okay, this is a really strange complexity point, but I have a purpose in addressing this. Stumbling over itself as private companies and public sector economy to battle over limited labor. So in that case, it shows like in even today you have the private and public sector in the economy. They do not necessarily act the same way, and this just my point here is just showing that imperialism can imperialism's manifestations can vary depending on if it's private or public. So I'm trying to understand the underlying historical processes and mechanics. I'm showing the reader, oh, this isn't just imperialism. This is imperialism from a semi-private perspective, dealing with the public imperialism from imperialism on the public sector. I don't know if I actually get the point, but I do want to point that out. I just feel obligated to. So my other one is number 5. So this one's pretty simple. If this is all you need for a document description argument, I'd say. What's my argument? Forced labor. What's the proof? We have a bunch of people hunting for rubber, being kept in labor through threats of violence. They're being forced to labor. I have 3 documents left anyway. 2 arguments actually. Okay, so this is just the simplest way I can put it. Here's the description of the document. The Congolese are in the forest hunting for rubber. Okay, so the question of the reader is, how does this prove forced labor? They are kept in labor through threats of violence. It's that simple. But I'm gonna make it more complicated. Can I even do a rhetorical question like that? Oh god. I should admit that even though I'm in college, I'm not a history major, so okay. So here we have a historical context, and then I try to examine, as I said before, the underlying mechanics and processes. Even though this might not be complexity, I do want to address it anyway. It's like this is a thing that you can think about in future historical research and historical events. So here we have context. So this part about the women's button is kind of like just an interim between it. I don't know if they would actually care or if they would read it, but And my historical context is Leopold wanted to grow Belgium. He was selling this rubber for a reason. He wasn't doing it because he thought it was like a funny joke or anything. He was trying to grow He was trying to develop Belgium. So my point is that he's willing to let this happen. If he's willing to let this happen because of profit, he's willing to. That's the motivation. That's the how and the why. That's how and why this event happened. I'm not just saying, oh, it's forced labor. I'm showing that I can understand a deeper underlying context to this event. Okay, last reason. Okay, so start with document 4. Yeah, document 4. By the way, did we have a document in Zimbabwe? Yeah, we did. Oh, that's interesting. Do I have the document in parentheses? You can do that. Just forgetting to do that, honestly. I've been forgetting to do that intermediately, but I might just have this later on. Okay, so as my point, he's the ruler. Okay. 6. Okay, here's interesting. This is the revolt against white settlers, document 6, and this is in the Battle of People. So these are the same. So these documents are very much temporally related. Okay, so this part right here is explicitly my sourcing. He's the leader. He can only see the wide view. He thinks that compromise is better than conquest, even if his people may disagree and find that living that life to life oppression may be different. And then I talk about this my complexity, I guess. The document 6, it's clear that the arrangement did not go the way they'd hoped, as his people would ultimately rebel and find themselves under the thumb of Europe. So to be clear, this is just the sourcing. This is right here. Everything after this is me going, hey, that's a funny connection. I should point that out. Does this directly support the does this directly support the reason? Not necessarily, but it does. It's germane to the argument. This is something that I can. It's at least showing that I can understand these documents. Don't lie. These documents have context with one another. So the last one is document 7, I believe. I think opium was fine up there, honestly. Even though it's kind of not what I meant, but what I usually do, but you know. Okay. Was this in Tanzania? So this is kind of arbitrary on my end, just choosing to use document 7 here. I could have gone in 102. So related to thesis talks about resources and economic impact. Well, it relates to my thesis in the sense that I'm just trying to understand why this person chose what they chose. It's understanding the underlying historical. It's understanding that motivation. Because I have here pride access to African and Asian resources. That by itself may be contended. Maybe this is not always purely by force. That's my point. So I'm trying to point out that there are nuances in where this can go. There are nuances and some variation in how the Europeans gained access. In this case, it was through compromise, and through 7, it was. In some other ones, I think it was applied through more violent measures. I don't know if any of them explicitly say that, but you know. Yeah, there we go. Just those 4 words. This one's kind of contended. You could honestly put this in one of the other reasons, but I'm gonna put it here. Training lines. Okay, what's our point in putting this here instead? It's kind of arbitrary, honestly. It relates to the other 2 in sense of forced labor and what's the other one? Forced labor and long-standing labor traditions, but I put it here anyways because I can, and I have argued it to belong in this reason. So in this case, I've combined the argumentation into one sentence with just the evidence. This is my evidence. This is my description. This is my argument. Documents that were not offered, you probably could, but if you mean like documents that, I think you could honestly do that. I'm not entirely sure because that used to be an old version of complexity of, hey, there's identify another document that you might need. That was something that used to exist in like 2012, I believe. So this is my attempt at mentioning at a look at that perspective. They would have accepted the rule had they had such meaning in profit. You could relate to different time periods. Also, I'm pretty close to done, so I'll just like start dumping conclusion now. But mentioning Spanish imperialism taking advantage of gold and silver possible. Oh yeah, I forgot about Suez. Oopsies. It's fine to go on an hour and 5 minutes. I mean, if I wanted to go ultimately ultra succinct, I could have. Like I had to do that once in APUSH, where my APUSH teacher gave me a page to write an entire DBQ. It was 6 documents, but still. That was a good challenge, by the way. You should do that sometime. I should do that sometime. Not you. Like having a page limit helps a lot in trying to figure out, okay, what exactly do I need to say? If I were working with a page limit, I would have dropped every complexity thing that I was talking about here. Okay, this is another thing of complexity, I guess, where I'm talking about like the outside evidence, how Suez help them get access. Okay, is there anything else I want to address? Oh yeah, Japan and Southeast Asia was definitely good. Definitely. Okay, I'm just gonna drop that there and hope that doesn't terrify someone. So something I forgot to address in regards to King Leopold was that they ultimately did cancel him for his sins. I forgot to address that, but it really showed like even though there was imperialist cruelties, there was some cases where they took it too far, and the Europeans found themselves obligated to cancel someone. It's actually kind of subjective. It's actually really subjective. Okay, that finishes that. This is a very long DBQ. 1,000 words. Let me check the other really long one. This is why I can't type DBQs. It's really bad. Okay, then beat out my old one. So I wrote this in an hour, typed. Realistically, on the exam, this is way more than you would ever need for literally anything. I don't think my hand would have lasted that long, and I think I would have typed not fast enough for that. I don't think I could write fast enough for that. So what's my point? I should probably go through this and like highlight parts to point out, hey, this is sourcing, hey, this is complexity, hey, this is evidence, hey, this is argumentation, etc., etc.